All right. Well, the first one we have is Death Growl. It's a 1 mana, 1 Unholy Rune spell. Choose a minion, spread its death rattle to adjacent minions. Okay, this one, like, I'm so excited for. And I think just being at 1 mana is super cool. It seems pretty easy to do. I like the card and the flavor of it, but I'm only going to rate this a 2 for Fringe because I think it, like, obviously you're only using this in a deck that has death rattles, right? You're not playing this in like every single Death Knight deck. And I don't know necessarily, even in a death rattle deck, if like this is the card that like creates the deck. So I'm just giving it a 2.
I agree with that. I'm leaning towards it too myself. I see potentially seeing it used as a combo card with the new legendary that we'll talk to. That summons a big charge minion. That could be a nutty combo, but at that point you need to be ahead on board because you need two other minions to play this with. So it's a little bit win more, and I'm not sure if there's that many good death rattles and like enough death rattles in your deck to make it worth playing. But I don't think the card's terrible. I think could maybe see some fringe use, so I'll give it 2.
Yeah, I like the reasoning behind it too. I was borderline 3 looking at the synergy with Cagehead and thinking about some other like neutral, pretty powerful death rattles that Death Knight likes to use, like the 3 mana 2/2 that draws a card. Like you can really get a ton of card draw that way with this, especially in a board flooding deck, which could be huge. But for now, it's probably just not quite powerful enough to go higher than that. I like to.
No. All right. So moving into, oh, I will say, I have theory crafted a deck for this card with death rattles, and yes, I have the cage head in there that you were both mentioning. That's going to give you a big charge, but the two that I'm really more focused on is using this with naval mine and the zombie that deals, if it's your opponent's turn, deals 3 damage to their face. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at. I'm gonna see if I can like,
Ah,
yeah, get lots of like just damage to their face.
of course.
Yes.
That makes sense.
All right. Then next we have a new location. This is Mosh Pit. It's a 2 mana, 2 durability or 2 use location here. Spend 3 corpses to give a friendly minion reborn. This one, I'm not. I'm not really hyped on. I'm giving it a 2, but 3 corpses just for reborn feels super weird. And like, I don't know. I guess the reborn, maybe you want that on like a death rattle or something, but when it's a reborn, the minion is coming back with 1 health. So you don't want to put this just on like an average minion. So it feels really weird. So I don't like it all that much, but maybe it goes with some death rattle stuff, so I gave it a 2.
I think maybe could see play in a more controlled DK deck where you run things like Ziliax and you just have this. You spend 2 mana early on, and then when you play Ziliax, you can give it Reborn, which is a lot of healing. And other things like that. There's the new Screaming Banshee we'll talk about that's pretty good with Reborn. Maybe some other things. I don't think it's super great, and I haven't thought about a ton of other uses, but I agree. I'll probably give it a 2.
I want to go 3 on this one because it's not a rune restricted card. So, uh, it's it's essentially like weird mana cheat, like all locations are. You bank your mana early on something that you try to get a payoff for late. I think Death Knight can use this in a lot of interesting ways that we haven't really entirely thought about. But even something as small as you are running Cage Head in your deck, obviously you might want to give that Reborn. But there are lethals you can find by spending 3 corpses to reborn the charge taunt. right? If they had something blocking, you just give Reborn to your charger, so you punch through one thing and then it comes back and you punch the 9 face. 3 corpses isn't that much. A lot of times some powerful DK decks don't have any use for their corpses either. I like the potential that this card represents. I feel like it can be key support in a number of different things because it's usable for all archetypes. So I'm sticking with 3 for now.
And I'm here now, so I'm back.
Welcome back.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2. I think 3 corpses for 1 reborn is kind of maybe 1 corpse too high for me price wise.
Yeah. That's one weird thing I've felt with corpses is like you either desperately need corpses and you can't use things like this, or you're like, I have like 36 corpses and nothing to do with them.
That's what I'm saying. It could go in like the decks that don't have a good way to spend their corpses. And yeah, okay, well, let me go ahead and just give one of these like higher powered minions reborn. I don't know. It might be garbage. Who knows?
All right. Any other thoughts on this one? Nope. Itachi?
That card's terrible.
Coming in with a 1.
Valid.
Perfect. All right. Well, next up, we have the instrument weapon. We have Arcanite Ripper, a 3 mana, 1 blood rune, 3 attack, 2 durability. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 lifesteal undead. Change your health on your turn while equipped to improve. It's a pretty interesting mechanic with these instrument weapons. You actually have to have them equipped and then do whatever it is to actually improve the effect. So kind of interesting. It's not in hand. You actually have to have it out. I'm not completely convinced on this. I'm giving this a 2. There might be like maybe put this in a blood DK deck. I don't know if you'd want this in like another style deck, but at least the changing your health could go like either way. So if you heal, that improves this, or if you take damage, like hitting with this weapon into a minion and then you take damage, that also changes your health. So there is that benefit, and probably why I'm giving this a 2 and not a 1. But I don't know. It's, yeah, the minion has lifesteal, but I also don't like that you get the death rattle and then it's just a body that doesn't do anything immediately. If it was like lifesteal and rush, that would be huge, and this card would be amazing. But otherwise, not super impressed with this.
Okay, I think it's high-key broken. Because you play this and you can smack a minion, and now it's a 2/2. You smack another minion, now it's a 3/3, and that's worst case scenario. If you're just smacking into minions, you get a 3/3 lifesteal after
It's a
this thing.
5/5.
Wait, why?
It's a 5/5 because you change your health twice when you smack a thing.
Wait, what?
So when you hit something, your health decreases and it goes up to 2/2. Then you lifesteal and it goes to 3/3.
Or this weapon doesn't have
The weapon doesn't have lifesteal though.
Oh, does it not? Oh, it's
No.
just. That's okay. Never mind.
Yeah, it would be really good if the weapon had lifesteal. That'd probably be irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, you can also just like rip a vampiric blood the next turn or something if you have it, which could, I mean, on turn 4 you probably don't have the corpses, but at some point there's also just a bunch of healing cards in the game. But worst case, you get a 3/3 lifesteal off your weapon. Seems pretty good, and like late game you can get a much bigger one, especially lifestealing being really good for blood.
What else is important with this card, I think, is that it's a single rune, and they did actually print rainbow support. So this is something that you could run in like a rainbow DK. It also, I know Rainbow DK, when it was around just briefly, ran the 1 mana 1/2 blood rune card that self damages face, right? And also deals 2 damage to any target that you choose. That would be an incredibly good follow up on turn 4 with this to change your health again. I really like this card. I think it's 4. It's either 3 or 4 for me. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm overrating it at 4.
And I
But
think
I want to call it a 4.
I'm giving it a 4.
I think I'm going to give it a 4 too, because I think another aspect is when people were originally trying to make like blood DH, they tried the 3-mana weapon or whatever that gives you corpses when it kills something, right? So I think that but they took it out because it just wasn't good enough. But they wanted a weapon in the early game, so I think them having a weapon now is probably a pretty big deal. So I'm gonna go to 4 too.
I mean, I think it's bad. Not bad.
Hey, coming in with a 1.
I don't think it's like terrible. I think it's a 3 because I think if you played in a blood deck specifically, they look for like all your cheap removal is centered around removing like larger things. You didn't really have anything to remove the small early game stuff until like turn 5. And so just like having that super early weapon that does something reasonable, like you protect the board, and then you get a thing that gives you the health back at the end of it all. I think it's pretty decent.
This is high key broken with Blood Boil. Then you get like a million procs.
Oh my god.
I forgot about that.
Pop, 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 pop. Yo, I got a 7/7.
And it curves perfectly into that kind of almost if you wait a turn. Yeah.
Will it actually proc for each of the hits? Do they go off separately and that will count?
They go off separately.
They do, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm underselling it, but I'm just still not convinced that it's like as great. I selfishly just want that minion to have rush too. Like then I think that's sick, right? I'm just like, okay, cool. You just get a minion that just gets killed. Okay, sure. Like I don't know. We'll see. We're also going into a 4-set meta, so maybe it's just solid as well because there's not other great options. And maybe over time it just gets a little bit less good depending on what else comes out.
Well, we got more support for this card on the very next card we're going to talk about too.
Yep, which is Death Metal Knight. A 3-mana, 3/4. This is 2 Blood Rune requirement. It has Taunt. It's also an undead. And it costs health instead of mana if your hero was healed this turn. I'm sorry, this is the worst card. I hate this card so much. This is a 1. This card is trash. That's it. That's all I gotta say on this.
Nice. I'm giving this one a 2. I don't know necessarily how good it is because I don't know how good Blood Decay actually is. The 2 Blood Rune requirement is steep because it means you can't really run it in like the Rainbow type deck or other styles that want to use like a single Blood Rune to take advantage of the big legendary spell that we'll talk about at the end. And this goes great with that weapon, but it confines it to being more just like completely blood focused decks. But free cards go hard, and this card is going to be free for Death Knight, for the Blood Decays, like basically whenever they want to play it. They're probably going to be playing this on a turn that they heal, and then just damaging themselves in a slightly irrelevant way. But does the 3/4 taunt really matter that much? 2 is the best I can figure for it.
Is there a way for them to play this like on curve?
I mean, you could play this on turn 2.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right. There's what heal cards are there actually in Death Knight in general?
That's what I'm trying to think of.
Well, there's like neutral healing too, probably. That's cheap.
I think that this is a brick. I think it's a 1.
Yeah, and I guess you also have to take damage to heal yourself. So
you have to like take and then heal and play this for free, like or you pay the mana that you would, like you pay the life that you would protect by having a taunt to get the taunt.
Yeah, I mean, look at the artwork. He's even given this card a thumbs down. All right, that's how bad this card is. All right, even the artwork says it.
Nice.
That's all right. Let's go on to the next one here. We have Hardcore Cultist. It's a 3-mana 2/1 undead with 1 Frost Rune requirement. Battle Cry, deal 2 damage. Finale to all enemies. So if you play it without the finale, you just get 2 damage directed wherever you want. And if you play it as a finale, it's 2 damage to all enemies, including face. This one is kind of interesting. I don't know if I normally want to pay 3 mana for a 2/1. I mean, I don't normally want to pay 3 mana for a 2/1. That's pretty bad. But 3 mana for a 2/1 and potentially kind of an AoE that also hits face might actually be okay. And I don't hate that it's only a 1 rune requirement. So I'm giving this a 3.
I do not like this one. I feel like it's kind of like Remorseless Winter, but it's just so awkward to play. I don't really like Finale as a mechanic that much. Like, on turn 4, how are we playing this? If we need to clear the board on turn 4 and we don't have a 1-drop, this card's just unplayable. And, like, on turn 5, are we going to hero power and play this just so we can get the effect off? It feels really, really conditional to me, and the effect doesn't seem super strong. And the original effect is really bad. So I think I will give it a 1. I think I'd rather play Remorseless Winter.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 because I don't even think 2 damage on 3 is clearing everything these days anyway. So I don't know. Just it seems a little bit not enough punch for what you're doing for it.
Huh. I'm conflicted on this, especially hearing your different opinions, because I looked at this card and I thought, oh wow, this is pretty good. Like, I kind of want to stick with a 3 on this as well. I agree with Dragon Rider. You usually should be able to find something to spend your mana until you have 3 left and then play the 3. It, you know, like we're hearing in chat, consecration with the body, right? The body's not very impressive. It does have the rune requirement. You can't just run this in every DK, but Frost DK really likes face damage, and getting to clear up board at the same time as pushing some face damage and developing a small thing. Maybe that developing a small thing is just fodder for your location too. So you also get a 4/5 rusher because of this body. Like, I like it for that reason. I think it. I'm gonna stick with a 3.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Natachi, come in with a 1. Bad. Next.
All right, let's get into Harmonic Metal. This is a 3 mana, 1 blood rune spell. It's give 4 random minions in your hand +2/+2. And it does the harmonic spells swap. So the dissonant spell on the alternating turns is the same cost, but it will give 2 random minions in your hand +4/+4. I like a lot of these harmonic spells. I'm giving this one a 4 myself. I think just that flexibility seems really sweet. It's only 3 costs, so it doesn't seem like too unreasonable, even if you're only buffing 2 of the minions. And again, 1 rune, pretty great. Also, I'm imagining this in like a blood DK deck where you're buffing like lifesteal minions, like No Muncher and stuff like that, and that just seems absolutely nutty. So I like this one a lot. I'm giving it a 4.
I think it's really good if you hit the 4 mana spider guy that summons 2 copies of itself. Then you get like massive taunts. Otherwise, I'm not super impressed by it. It does have good synergy with lifesteal, like you said. Don't think it's too bad. I think I'll give it a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just say I think it looks like primarily rainbow support to me, but I do really like your point about buffing No Muncher in blood DKs. But No Muncher is also a singular rune card, so Rainbow DK just looks like it got a ton of support. It hits Swarm Guard, maybe it hits No Muncher, maybe. Like, it's really cool. They're enabling Rainbow DK, and I think that gives it a good enough to be a 3. Like, that's a lot of buffs. either and you can try to set it up to where either you have like a board floody deck where you want the harmonic or you want the dissonant. Problem is it could have a huge downside where the one that you need happens on the turn you don't have the mana cost for it. The one you don't want happens when it's better for you to spend the mana for that. So it makes it almost a 2 for me, but I'm like a low 3 on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean on 2 mainly because I'm not quite crazy about I love like the theme of the harmonic like mechanic, but I think a lot of times it's going to be like a choose one card that you never get to choose what you want a lot of times, and sometimes you'll get the one. It's like you'll get it sometimes and you won't get it sometimes. I think it's going to cause a lot of awkward situations. So I'm going to give it a 2, but I think the effect is powerful.
All right. Go ahead and move to the next one here. We have Boneshredder. It's a 5 mana, 1 unholy rune, 5/4 undead. Battlecry, spend 5 corpses to trigger and gain the death rattle of a random friendly minion that died this game. So there is a bit of setup with this. You do have to have had something die. But you get the effect immediately. You also have to have the 5 corpses. But you get the effect immediately, and you gain that death rattle. I'm giving this one a 3. I think it's pretty interesting. I mentioned with the spell earlier of the death growl that I kind of have built like theory crafted a deck that revolves around dealing damage, taking death rattles from like the naval mine and the zombie that deals 3 if it's your opponent's turn. So I think it's kind of interesting, but it does feel like it still might be a little bit fringe because you really only play this with death rattles. The 5 corpses does seem a little hefty, but you're getting the effect and the death rattle. So I don't know. I'm giving it a 3.
This it's like a 5 mana old Ancient of Lore, isn't it? You like 5 mana, draw 2 cards. It's pretty good. I think it's like a 3.
It's tough to find any good death rattles for this outside of some very specifically like late game broken ones. You did mention though, like the mine is a possibility. You can get some extra burst, and obviously Itachi's referring to Chill Fallen Baron, right? You get the death rattle draw card, and this gets a trigger, which would be pretty cool. I like its multiple applications and the fact that it's only a single rune, which means I don't know, it opens up some possibilities to play it in a deck that again, Rainbow, you could repeat the Saurian's Death Rattle, which is pretty crazy. You could even repeat the Harbinger of Winter if you were doing 2 Frost, 1 Unholy, which just sounds terrible. But it's an option. And overall, it just looks kind of solid. There's the obvious synergy with the really powerful card we're going to talk about in a couple cards, Cage Head. But it looks good. I think it's a 3.
Not impressed. I feel like it's very, very slow, and there's just not enough good death rattles. You kind of need Cagehead to die beforehand and then play this, and then it's pretty powerful, but
Well, you
otherwise,
just take a location and kill Cage Head immediately.
yeah,
And then
that
you have
is an
turn 9
application.
trigger this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cagehead's the only application I like. So I'll give it a 2.
We always like getting a. Well, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we always like its death rattle.
Yeah, I just think it's like bad otherwise, and you have to just wait until you've drawn your legendary, and this card's kind of unplayable otherwise. Actually, I'm giving it a 1. Screw it. I think it's bad. That's not myself down.
Let's
I'm
go.
glad I'm not the only one because I'm actually going with Neji on this one. I think the card, I think it looks really pretty on the face, but when you start thinking about like applications, like it's 5 corpses, so you're probably not doing anything before it. You're going to have to do something after it, so it's probably going to sit in your hand a lot of times. So unless you're like a combo deck with the card we're going to talk about later, it's probably not going to do anything. You're going to playing a 5 and a 5/4 that does nothing. So I'm going to give it a 1 also. I don't like it at all.
Let's go.
Interesting. I think to me, this one reminds me of the, oh gosh, now I can't think of what it's called. It was 6 mana, then they buffed it to 5. The Warlock card that brings back an undead that died and gives it reborn. It's kind of like a similar feel to that to me, because that also requires you to have like an undead die before you can play it. And you're kind of building your deck in a specific way to pull certain undeads. Like, you don't just want to play any undead when you're playing that. And this has a very similar kind of feel and like deck building synergy like that to me. So I don't know, maybe it's probably just pretty fringe. Like, you know, it only works in like that one certain deck. But we'll see. We'll see. Moving to the next one, we have Screaming Banshee, a 5 mana, 1 blood rune, 3 attacks, 6 health, undead with lifesteal. And after your hero gains health, summon a soul with that much attack and health. This one is really, really interesting. The fact that it's after your hero gains health, you'll summon some stuff. Kind of interesting as well with the Blood Boil that you all mentioned earlier with the other card. If you're getting that trigger like every time, then you're healing for 2, then 2, then 2. You're just gonna like summon a board of 2/2s. Or if you heal for a big amount, you know, get some bigger bodies. I don't know, pretty interesting. There also is a note in here that it says it cares about gaining health and not just healing. So vampiric blood works, even if you're like at that, you know, maxed, like let's say 30 health, and then you play vampiric blood and you go up in health, this will still also trigger. So because of all that, I don't know, I like the lifesteal as well. I'm giving this a 4. I think this is a pretty sweet card.
I agree with that. I think, especially with Vampiric Blood, it's mega broken. You get 2 5/5s because it triggers at 2 different times. It's not just like +10, it goes +5, or how does it work? Yeah, +5, then +5. So, yeah, this is a lot of synergy. I mean, just playing it down. If they trade into this, you immediately get a 3/3. If they trade again, you get another 3/3. You're also healing. Just seems pretty powerful. Give it a 4.
Yeah, Blood DK got a whole lot more annoying. This looks really good. I like all your reasons for it. I agree that it's a 4. Also, I'm gonna keep reiterating this point that it's rainbow DK support. Like, this looks kind of terrifying in a certain curve that Death Knight can have with Arcanite Ripper on 3 into this on 5. You're swinging the weapon twice. You're proccing the lifesteal on turn 4 to summon the minion, and then that minion gets to attack and immediately summon an additional thing off of this getting played. And it's a static effect. Like, they have to remove it or it's going to keep generating things. Like, my god.
Nutty.
Yeah, I think this card is pretty daggum good. And I'm going to give it a 4.
Y'all gonna hate me for this. I'm giving this a 1.
Yo! I knew it.
Y'all gonna,
I knew it.
y'all gonna hate me for this. This seems like one of those cards that's like, you remember when Cornelius Rome got released and everybody's like, oh my god, that card's broken. I draw every turn. That's like, I draw 2 cards right now. And then if they leave it up, I draw 4 cards. And it just was like not good. I feel like this is the same thing. I feel like it happens too late in the game currently. The way that like the game is now, I feel like it happens way too late for it to matter. Because it's like, all right, if you do it on 7 to get the 2 5/5s, and on 7 you summoned a 13/16, which is cool, but like only 6 of that has taunt. It's easily removed by a spell or whatever minions I have on the board. You have not changed my board at all. Like, and you've spent 7 mana. And are you like, if I'm an aggro deck, are you dying currently? Or if I'm a control deck, I don't care about the 13/16.
Well, I think I think one thing that's a big thing about this is that it says after your hero gains health, summon. So it's just whenever you gain health. So doesn't that count for when your people are trying to remove this thing, right?
Yeah,
Or
but not if I like ship a spell at it. Like if I just like for simplicity's sake, like fireball it,
yeah.
then it just doesn't matter. I don't know. It feels like it
Yo,
seems like it's a
Itachi's
good card.
main decking Fireball in 2023. Let's go.
You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I don't know. It seems like it happens too late and too insignificantly in terms of like what's happening in the game. So 1.
I'm gonna throw a quick little troll Itachi moment out here. You guys remember when Itachi said serrated bone spike was really bad? I remember that.
Also, but on the other side, you remember when Itachi said the Penflinger was really good, and the rest of us were like, "No, this card sucks."
I do remember that.
True.
I said it was Omega unplayable.
Yeah.
Hey, loser. I'm a loser now.
You gotta take your chances, man. This is to me, it's a 1. I can't see myself putting this in a deck and being like thrilled about going water elemental plus blood boil to summon 2 5/5s. I don't know. I could do better stuff.
I do like what Base said about this in the chat, which is it might be insane and it might be completely useless, and I can't really tell. I opted for insane, but it could easily go your way, and it's just garbage.
Just gotta pick a side.
Yeah.
We'll see.
The one that I keep thinking is that is it 1 mana? The 1 mana Death Knight card that just deals 6. Like lifesteal and dual 6 to a minion. I see people pick it off of
4 mana, man.
Have you been playing duels? What card is this?
Yeah, that's
No.
4 mana.
4 mana?
It's 4 mana. Yeah, it's 4 mana.
I don't know. Whatever.
Like,
people
what?
people generate it and use it to kill stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, people do use it. Yeah.
So I mean,
I just
that
want
just
to
straight
say
up kills
one thing, that I am evaluating cards assuming that they nerf Miracle Rogue into the dirt because it's going to be the best deck by far, and all of these cards lose to Miracle Rogue. This one just dies to the shoot a thing cock. So yeah, I'm just going to assume that Miracle Rogue is dead. Otherwise, every card is bad.
Yeah, Concoction's just gonna kill this thing. You're never gonna summon anything from it. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah,
I mean, you should
that's
be
fair.
summoning something off of it on the turn that you're playing it.
Oh, good
like-
luck making it to turn 7 though, or 6.
Well, it comes like Death Knight runs a lifesteal weapon too. You know, it runs there are a number of things that could gain you health that you already have set up, like a lifesteal minion that you summoned from a weapon on a previous turn, and you just have that set up so you play this, then you gain your health, and it immediately summons something on your 5 mana turn.
Are you
But,
talking
I
about
mean, we'll see.
the 3/3 that died to Serrated Bone Spike? The card I thought was terrible.
Honestly, valid.
I mean, look, not every game is going to be against Rogue because they're going to nerf Miracle Rogue, all right, guys? We need some copium
exactly.
here.
Come on.
I've got faith. They'll nerf Miracle.
It gets nerfed on day like 20. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? I might be convinced now. I don't know. This is either going to be awesome or this is going to be total crap and never played. And I don't know. I don't know. This is the fun thing about doing these. Plus, right now when we have rotation and then it's only going to be a 4-set meta, like I feel like this. I think we were talking about it before we actually started live, but it's always kind of difficult sometimes to evaluate these cards because now we've been having multiple metas, right? Where we have a lot of cards, there's a lot of options. Some cards aren't that great, but in a 4-set meta, some cards that are not that great become a little bit better because it's kind of the better of the options. And then as you get more cards, they become worse and worse as better stuff comes out. But yeah, this very, very interesting. I'm ready to see it. I don't know. I keep thinking too, I'm kind of also starting to compare this to that Paladin minion. It was like every time you healed or every time you played a holy spell, you summoned a 2/2 with lifesteal or whatever. And that really doesn't see play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So it's like, we'll see. I don't know. But I like the opinions. All right, let's move on to the next one. Y'all have been talking this one up, so let's talk about it. Cage Head, 8 mana, 2 unholy runes, 5 attack, 1 health, undead minion. With Death Rattle, summon a 9/9 Blight Boar with charge and taunt. Woo, that's a spicy Death Rattle there. This is again one that's like, this is either gonna be nutty or just like totally just nothing. 8 and 2 unholy runes is kind of a lot. But I think the effect is really strong. I'm only gonna give this a 2 because I don't think you're playing it in like every deck. It can't go into a rainbow deck. You're not gonna play it in like a full blood deck or a full frost deck because of that rune requirement. And I don't even think it is going to be like the defining card of an unholy deck because it's a legendary. You're only going to have the one, and you have to get to that later point, and then get the Death Rattle. But I think there definitely will be some really sweet moments with it. But I'm just going to actually rate the card itself as a 2.
Feel the same way. I don't think the card's actually that good because I don't think the synergy with it is very good. If we're playing this, like best case, we have this, and Ron said earlier we like kill it with the location. Yes, we got the 9/9 charge with taunt, which is very good, but that's almost like just playing King Crush from your hand, which is not very good. Obviously, if we can re-trigger it with that 5 mana thing, but then we're playing the 5 mana thing, which I think is bad. So I just think the deck itself is not really going to function too well, and it's really slow to get the effects off. So I will give it a 2 as well.
Yeah, the effect is insane. Like you can do crazy things with it. You have a death growl to play with that too. You could mosh pit this and give it reborn to have more of them. But the minion itself doesn't have taunt, and we don't have any ways to cheat this out. I feel like it requires a lot of build around for the deck itself. That's probably the biggest criticism of this card right now, is that the deck around this card is probably not very good. But I don't know, do you ever have just an unholy deck that you run this as like a late game payoff with, it's like board flood with Death Growl and Mosh Pit, and you have something there? You're running Boneshredder 2 to repeat it. It's a 2, I guess, but like this, I don't know, this card might be super broken at some point. For now, I don't know if it has enough there.
Reminds me of kind of a like bad version of Katharina Winter Wisp or whatever her name was.
Mm.
It's like people used to play that with like King Crush in their deck, and it's like this does kind of similar things, but it just is slower and worse, kind of. So I'm gonna give it a 2.
Man, y'all gonna hate me for this.
Here we
I
go.
give it a 4.
Oh, I thought
I
you're
think it's
coming in with a
4.
6, man.
No. It ain't that bad. I think that there's definitely some finisher synergy going on, because the way that I'm looking at it, it's like this card plus the 1 mana card, the Death Growl, are cards that I could like. So I could see myself playing Death Growl in general. I can definitely see myself playing location. I can definitely see myself playing the old location that destroys the thing. And obviously, Unholy is going to flood the board anyway. So I think it's one of those things where it's like you're playing for the board. If you lose the board, like you have this finisher, kind of like where, I don't know. I can't think of the deck. The deck that I know the monsters I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the deck. In any case, I think it's one of those things where it's like it's a really big finisher. If you need to combo to beat a deck, then you have a combo available that deals like 20. You deal up to 27 or more, depending on what you have set up. So I think it's reasonable to say that this card could see its way. I think it's 4, and it's like the 9/9 is like, especially if I could potentially summon more than one per turn, is kind of ridiculous.
Love the hot take.
Yeah. All right. Well, while you're building
I'm
up
not
to
doing
do
it
that,
like
I'll
the
just
same
beat you
content.
with something else.
Like, I mean, I don't know. When this card works, it's going to be insane. You're going to lose.
Oh, you'll
Yeah,
see it on the
like,
highlight
It's
clip.
just
Yeah, exactly.
the but the unholy DK deck. I think the only problem was that like if you didn't have this massive board flood, it was really really difficult to win the game. But like with a card like this, you can have a different finisher. I mean, they obviously have the Bloodlust card, which is insane. But like you can have a different finisher, a different way to finish the game against a deck that can last longer, especially if Blood Decay is like running around and healing all the time. Which honestly, if you're playing that deck versus this deck, you're not gonna win that game anyway. But yeah, I think it's
yeah, cool triple 9/9s. I clear your board completely and still have 35 health, and then I go ahead and heal some more and remove again. Yeah, blood decays, of course, usually handle unholy pretty well.
Well,
oh yeah,
we'll
you
see.
3/6.
All right, let's go to the next one here. We have the other legendary, the Climactic Necrotic Explosion. This is the legendary spell. 10 mana, 1 blood rune, 1 frost rune, 1 unholy rune. And it has lifesteal, then deal 5 damage, summon 2 1/1 souls, and randomly improved by corpses you've spent. Now, this does note it cannot be randomly generated or discovered, and all 4 numbers increase separately. So, based on the number of souls or corpses, but the number of souls that you summon cannot go over 7. So you can't. It won't be like summon 8 1/1 souls. That will never be improved above that 7. But maybe if you spend some corpses, it might increase the damage you deal. It might increase the amount of souls you summon, and it might increase the stats of those souls. So of course, the more corpses that you spend, sure. God, I'm giving this a 2. I kind of want to give it a 1. Honestly, I'm not super impressed with this. I don't know. I'm not convinced that Rainbow DK is actually going to be a thing. I still think there's not quite enough support. And if you're building a deck hoping that this on its own is enough support, I don't think that's good. Maybe if you have this and you're spending a bunch of corpses and you get this like all, jazzed up and it's dealing a bunch of damage and summoning a bunch of big things, maybe that's great. But I don't know. I feel like you're just trying for a payoff with a mediocre deck.
Yeah, I think this card is actually abysmal. Like, I think this might be one of the worst legendary spells, if not the worst one. I don't understand why the 1/1s improve the attack and health separately. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And improved by corpses you've spent is so much worse than the corpses like that you have right now. Like, it's so hard to spend corpses, especially in a Rainbow Death Knight deck. There's really not that many things that spend corpses, so this just seems like a really bad Denathrius, and Denathrius is already really bad, so I just cannot imagine us playing this card. I'm giving it a 1.
This card is so cool. It's not that good, but this card is so cool. Like, I love that they gave Rainbow DK some actual more support. I mean, there are 6 1-rune cards that came out in this expansion that you could maybe run in a deck that wants to do this. Sadly, not many of those actually spend corpses. There's like the Mosh Pit, which helps you spend corpses, and a deck that runs this might have to actually run the 4-mana thing, Malignant Horror, because that can actually just keep spending corpses. I think that's what you kind of have to do, and that's kind of a bad card. I give it a 2. I think it can work in some scenarios, but maybe it takes a little bit more set releases and support. I want it to work because, man, it looks really cool.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Rob Zombie album cover. and the name and all that kind of stuff. The card looks cool. Everything looks really cool about it, but I'm also giving it to just because I feel like you're having to put so much effort into something that's not going to just win you the game automatically, kind of. So yeah, too.
This card is so cool, but I kind of agree with you. And then also, this card has the problem of the better it is, the worse it is, because like it's a 10-mana card, so like, and it's also in Death Knight, so like you're not gonna do anything else the turn that you play this. So it's pretty crap. I'd give it a 2.
Yeah, maybe at least if the souls had rush or something, or had taunt. Not just stat generation on turn 8. The thing that matters is the damage and the lifesteal, and the fact that you have 3 different separate things that can eat up the corpses that were spent, so that you might never juice up the lifesteal more than 5.
Yeah.
Like you just keep making bigger and bigger summons that don't matter because they don't have taunt or rush, so you still die to your opponent's backswing turn. Like, oof.
I think this card would be way cooler if it said, like, if it did not have lifesteal and it said all enemies and just started at 1 damage, and then the 1/1 increased like 2, 2, 3, 3 instead of. So there would only be 3 things to change, which is the amount of damage it deals, and then the stats, and then the number. And so like it would ideally, in the perfect world, say deal 1 damage to all enemies, summon 1/1 corpse or whatever the thing is, and then improved by your corpses.
Jackpot Rogue has more funny ways to trickster high roll you, though.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, so really what I'm hearing is we need to rotate Rogue out of Standard, and then these cards are fine. We can order.
Yo, I'm
Okay.
down to delete Jackpot. I'm here for it.
Oh no, Rogue or not, this card is not getting there. But anyway.
Well, unfortunately, Jackpot Rogue is going to be a lot worse because they lose stash, but still,
Yeah.
it's always trouble. People are still going to play it.
predicted.
This will be a highlight reel, like high roll type of card, but I don't think it's going to like be anything significant in the meta.